Welcome back to the round trip. Bitcoin hits Vegas and Ethereum has its MicroStrategy moment. Plus, one trader's $85 million meltdown. We break down everything that just reshaped crypto this past week on the round trip.
Hey, John.
Cassidy, how you doing?
Good, good. I'm good. So I think the first stop this week would be Las Vegas, the Bitcoin conference 2025. It wasn't just a law conference, as you may have seen on Twitter. It might have rewrite the entire playbook for crypto history. Did you hear about JD Vance, the vice president's talk on the at the conference?
Yes. Yeah, JD said he still owns a fair amount of Bitcoin. I think in August is it like 250 to 500,000. So maybe he's got like 5 Bitcoin, but that's pretty big for a politician of his level. Um, yeah, I mean, he came out, he declared that Operation Choke Point 2.0 is dead, and a lot of the policies of the Biden administration that waged war on crypto had all this, policy by enforcement has come to an end. And I think the crypto market really appreciated that. This was the first Bitcoin conference or the first real large one where Bitcoin was over 100K, and it was the largest Bitcoin conference ever. So we're doing well. I think, yeah, he was a keynote speaker, and we couldn't think of a better one. So, yeah, let's go over some of the other highlights from the event because it kind of, set the stage for this week.
Yeah, definitely. So I think Cynthia Loomis is back with a bold move. She did introduce the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Bill, where the U.S. government would start holding Bitcoin as a sovereign reserve asset. Here's the twist to it. This wouldn't be funded by taxpayers. Instead, it will be financed through value gold certificates and forfeiture funds. So talk about thinking outside the fiat box. Loomis is also pushing the Bitcoin Act, where the landmark proposal would allow the US to acquire up to 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years. That's like nearly 5% of the total supply. It's massive.
Yeah. So I think it was back in January when like she first started. There was actually like a Loomis meme coin. So I'm wondering if it'll come back because yeah, if the US buys 1 million Bitcoin and it's because of this act that she's been pushing, I mean, she's already a legend, but she's going to be legendary. That's more than twice of what strategy has, and uh, it's definitely going to push the Bitcoin price up quite a bit. And who knows if, you know, purchasing 1 million Bitcoin is even possible when you're being this public about it. So yeah, I'm just waiting to see. I think it has a lot more support than it did a few months ago because yeah, I think yeah, they said like 19% of the US owns crypto or at least has played around with it. It's probably a bit larger. And most of those people who own crypto voted Republican in this past election. So it's a big part of their base. Yeah, notably David Sachs from the All In podcast. Yeah, and the crypto czar for this administration. He also highlighted how the Commerce Department and Treasury might buy Bitcoin with this all this tariff revenue. That'll be a first in U.S. policy history. Also notably, yeah, Jason Calacanakis. He's coming to Singapore on Monday, or he's already here, but I'll see him on Monday. So kind of looking forward to that, and I'll ask him his perspective on all this and what he thinks of his bestie, David Sachs. But yeah, I also saw that yeah, Pakistan they had some interesting news.
Yeah, I think it's like a surprise move out of Southeast Asia this week. South Asia, sorry. So Pakistan, they're jumping into the Bitcoin game. The government officially announced the plans to create a national Bitcoin strategic reserve. With the news delivered live on stage by their special advisor on blockchain called Bilal bin Saki. It shows that another country is getting serious about stacking Bitcoin sats. This marks a huge shift for Pakistan, and it also signals how quickly the idea of Bitcoin as a sovereign asset is also catching up around the world.
Yeah, very interesting. Back in like think it was 15 or 16. Yeah, I used to work for this company called CoinPip, and it did B2B payments cross border. And Pakistan was actually leading Bitcoin back then. They had an exchange called UrduBit, and yes, so yeah, UrduBit was like one of our uh, off ramps, but they had to like shut down because yeah, the situation wasn't that great because like yeah, Pakistan's banking regulations are pretty opaque. But I'm glad to see them like turning around and embracing Bitcoin again. Um, Another notable topic for this week at the Bitcoin conference was actually stablecoins. I don't know if you saw the video where, yeah, they just highlighted all the time stablecoins was mentioned. But yeah, with the Genius Act, moving forward in Congress, it's definitely going to be talked about because, yeah, it just has a lot of potential to strengthen to the U.S. dollar. And I saw that base, I think it was in Bermuda, that like they had this conference and people were using USDC. I think yeah, this is quite powerful because a lot of countries that don't have their own currency and use the U.S. dollar, they might be using USDC or USDT as like their payments infrastructure because it's a lot cheaper than using credit cards and it's debit based. So yeah, you could have like this whole banking system with apps and just using stablecoins. So I think it's yeah, pretty interesting and yeah, there's a long way to go for stablecoins, especially in developing countries. Um, and yeah, I saw some other interesting news for yeah, the Bitcoin Treasury Club with Paris Saint-Germain or PSG. They're actually gonna play in the Champions League final this weekend. So let's see if they're them buying Bitcoin, which they've held for like a couple of years now, will help them beat Inter Milan.
Well, the football giants, the PSG, they're actually holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet with the just a week ahead of their Champion League final. So I hope this will book their or boost their luck for the pitch. Let's see if it will help them with the Champions League this weekend. So
Mhm.
with while the PSG is playing the long game with Bitcoin, not everyone in crypto has been quite as disciplined. Did you hear about what happened with James Wynn this week? It's all over Twitter.
Yeah, so I mean, he might not be in Vegas, but this guy is definitely a gambler. So yeah, he started supposedly with like 7K, and he's like this big, meme coin guy trading in Pepe, baby Pepe, and yeah, he's like his portfolio, at least on Hyperliquid, went all the way to like over 90 million, and he's been doing like this huge leverage bets, like 40x long Bitcoin. Um, yeah, and then he had like over a $1.2 billion position, and it's super crazy like to be this public. People are hoping like this guy's just hedging his trade on some other platform, uh but maybe he isn't. I just checked and I think his like portfolio value is around 8 million, which yeah, it's quite down for the week.
Well, he earlier he did post it on X, where he's stepping away from perps after losing like tens of millions dollars. But surprise, less than 24 hours later, just within a day, he was right back at it. He was trading again like nothing happened. Um, Besides, like after he took the massive hit, you mentioned earlier, like losing nearly 85 million in just 1 week. I think this also shows us like a classic warning. Don't revenge trade. Sometimes the best move here is just to step back and regroup.
Yeah, I thought that was like so funny. This guy tweeted like, I'm leaving the casino,
Mhm.
and then he's just back to trading 24 hours. It just shows like how addicting leverage trading can be. And no matter how good you think you are, like you have this kind of confirmation bias with trading. You're like, "Oh, I got from 7K to, 90 million. I'm a really great trader." And that just kind of wrecks you at a point because you have just too much confidence. And I mean, maybe it's all not that bad that he's been losing because, yeah, Zach XBT and some others have accused Wynn of various pump and dump schemes, and like how he's allegedly acquired like 2 to 3% of Baby Pepe and other tokens like Moonpig. He's been hyping them and then dumping them. It's like, all right, dude, why are you hyping up these like, kind of meme coins that no one's heard of when you're trading this $90 million position? So yeah, people are thinking like he's using his influence to profit while like leaving his followers holding the bag. It doesn't look great, and yeah, despite like, people warning others on Twitter, like he's, running the same playbook over and over. I saw like some tweets from as like June or July of last year about him doing all this sort of stuff.
I mean, this is just classic pump and dump, right? You show about coin and then you just sell it before everyone sells it. Yeah, but how did this macro kill the momentum?
Yeah, so no matter how good it was in Vegas, the macro scene wasn't that great. So I mean, the federal courts, they deemed Trump's Liberation Day tariffs illegal, and then Bitcoin went back up because they were like, okay, yeah, no more tariffs. That's good. But then they appealed it like the next day. So, and the tariffs are staying in place until further notice. So you can't like, I don't know. It seems like with all this Trump news, you really have to wait like 24, 48 hours to see if it's like really come into effect. Yeah.
Yeah. Another big legal news coming out of the court is the Trump tariff on China, Canada, and Mexico. It just got struck down. The court ruled that he exceeded his authority under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA for short. That means that those trade barriers are invalidated. This could have ripple effects on global markets and, of course, the overall crypto sentiment too.
Yeah, so I think also another big one was like the whole U.S. China relationship. So yeah, Scott Bessent, he came out and said, yeah, I mean the trade talks have stalled. There's definitely going to need a call between Trump and Xi if we want to get things moving again. And then that just dumped the markets like another 2% overnight. And it pushed his liquidation price down, or well, he almost got liquidated. But he's like been adding more to his leverage, so that way like he's pushing his like liquidation price down. So what it was like, 108, then he added more, and like he deleveraged some, and then 106. Good thing because like it hit like below 106, but yeah, he pushed it down to 105. So yeah, it's definitely high stakes for this guy and all the other leverage traders that were kind of following him. Um, so yeah, crypto markets definitely got hit hard.
Yeah, I think this could be his story could have become a case study, maybe in the future, on how crypto's transparency doesn't prevent abuse. But does it will definitely leave a trail. Yeah. So I think another headline this week is Elon Musk. He has officially exited DOGE, the Trump's not the meme coin, but Trump's administration's Department of Government Efficiency. He joined DOGE with big plans to slash federal waste and modernize the bureaucracy, but now he's stepping away officially this week.
Yeah, I think a lot of Shiba Inu shed a tear this week. I mean, Doge, it was, I think, mostly symbolic because, yeah, because of this like 1974 Congressional Budget and Impoundment Control Act, like Congress holds the real power when it comes to cutting federal spending. So, yeah, Elon, he couldn't do that much. His hands were kind of tied. And I mean, before this act, the president and the executive branch, they had the power to be like, this is wasteful spending. Let's, cut it and withhold funds for that. But after that, they couldn't. So, I mean, I think this with the whole tariffs being like possibly illegal and, Doge not being able to cut, it's just revealing like how little power the executive branch may have. And despite how many executive orders Trump's been pushing. Like a lot may be deemed to be illegal, and like yeah, they might not pass. So they might all be symbolic, just like Elon's Musk role. So yeah, his short-term appointment, and yeah, he's gonna continue on as an advisor, but yeah, pretty short-lived.
He did also criticize the administration's new spending bill, saying that it expanded the deficit and contradicted DOGE's mission that he joined, the original reason he joined the organization.
Yeah, I think that I mean the timing definitely lined up with him leaving. We talked about it last week. It's gonna add almost $4 trillion to the deficit. So it's like, all right, he's cutting, but then you're just spending more, so it's kind of a wash. And he didn't cut that much compared to how much the deficit is expanding. So yeah, and it also hurt Tesla a lot. People stopped buying Teslas because he was working for Trump, and yeah, Teslas were getting like the dealerships were getting burned down, and people's Teslas were getting keyed up and like written like horrible slogans on. So I think yeah, he kind of needed to leave, and yeah, it just wasn't good for Tesla. I think it was a bit of a distraction, and yeah, he wasn't actually able to do much because of the symbolic role of it.
Well, I did pick up Tesla at the when it dropped, and it's now up 50%.
Well, good for you.
So Musk, he also hinted at future political spending, but he hasn't given any details yet. So looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, I think the his departure really underscores like the tension between like the ambition and the reality of what you're able to do in government. And it's also funny that like right after he left Doge, he launched another Starship because apparently it's a lot easier to send people to Mars than to cut government spending.
Yeah. So I think right now, there's also a huge headline on my favorite altcoin, SharpLink Gaming. It was on the ropes. They're start flirting with the listing. They pull off a massive 425 million fundraising round, and they're now stepping into the spotlight as the Ethereum version of the MicroStrategy. Basically, SharpLinks making a big pivot, doubling down on ETH. It's a corporate crypto treasury play. What do you think about this?
Yeah, so I mean they're investors, they have Consensus, Joseph Lubin's firm, and he's also chairman of the board. And they have other great backers like Pantera, Galaxy Digital, Parify, Electric Capital, and Arrington. So they have some of the notable players in VCs. And I mean, I think the stock appreciation really shows a lot. It's up over 2,700% in just 5 days of trading. So yeah, a lot better than meme coin trading. And yeah, if you were able to get it. But I think yeah, it's up like just this past day, 170%. So yeah, it's really moving. Uh, we'll see if it continues.
Hmm. I think what's really notable here is that SharpLink's move is the first of the scale for Ethereum by a Nasdaq listed company. Analysts they're calling it the very first institutional supply squeeze, which could have a big implication for the market. Link's pivot, it might have just started the trend with more public companies looking to get serious Ethereum exposure through their corporate treasuries. Well, looks like the Ethereum corporate treasury story is this is just the beginning of it.
Yeah, and not to be outdone, Solana or Sol Strategies, they filed a $1 billion Canadian dollar perspective to expand their Solana investments. Yeah, just last month they announced a $500 million convertible note to buy Solana. But notably, over like the last month, Sol Strategies is up 1%. I mean, it's been around a bit longer, but it seems like Ethereum is kind of leading the show for this past week.
Yeah, well, this past week, Bitcoin's definitely had a pullback, briefly dipping under 106,000, but still holding pretty strong. Overall, it's still above that big number on over 100K. So It's been doing that actually for 20 days straight, which is actually a pretty bullish sign. I'm very bullish on what's coming. But meanwhile, and XRP, they have been holding up better than most of the big names. Even then, even the rest of the markets are dumping a little bit. So Ethereum, as you said, might have been taking the spotlight. A lot of the analysts did say that ETH looks like it's coiling up for a breakout, potentially pushing past 3,000 very soon. So it's also forming a bullish pattern on the charts. We will see. With SharpLink's 425 million play, might be ready for a big move.
Yeah. I mean, until next time, we should really keep our leverage low. And your cold wallet's cold because you don't want to move those funds. If they're cold, just keep them cold. It's probably the best move. And with today's macro, you really never know. So thank you for joining us on this week's episode of The Round Trip. We'll see you next week.